inside the Oval Office.
You will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
President Trump and Vice President Vance engage in a heated exchange with Ukraine's President Zelenskyy, accusing the European leader of being ungrateful and disrespectful. He'd come to sign a deal with the U.S. for Ukraine's rare earth minerals. What happened when the leaders went behind closed doors? New details in the investigation into the suspicious deaths of Oscar winner Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy Arakawa. As we learn, they tested negative for carbon monoxide. What Hackman's daughter is now saying about his health, as the actor's legacy is sure to be honored at this weekend's Academy Awards. We're on the Oscars red carpet, looking ahead to the winners, the fashion, and the culture of Hollywood's biggest night. It's one of the most competitive years ever, with no clear frontrunner in several acting categories and a tough race for Best Picture. We're setting the stage for the 97th Academy Awards.
From ABC News, this is Prime with Linsey Davis. Reporting tonight from the Oscars red carpet in Hollywood, California.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Linsey Davis. Thank you so much for streaming with us. We are here in Los Angeles on the Oscars red carpet, where the stage is set for Hollywood's biggest stars to appear this weekend at the 97th Academy Awards. We'll have full coverage in a moment, but we do begin with major news out of Washington tonight. With that unprecedented and explosive spectacle playing out in the Oval Office, Ukrainian President Zelenskyy in Washington to sign a deal giving U.S. rights to Ukraine's mineral wealth and chart a path to end the war with Russia. But what happened instead is reverberating around the world tonight. The meeting devolved into a heated and deeply personal confrontation for all to see. And now tonight, President Trump is considering ending all military aid to Ukraine. A reporter's question about Vladimir Putin prompted Vice President Vance to scold Zelenskyy and accuse him of refusing diplomacy and of being ungrateful and disrespectful to the president. Zelenskyy pushed back, warning Putin would eventually hurt the United States. President Trump followed with a blistering attack, telling Zelenskyy, you don't have any cards and you're either going to make a deal or we're out. Ukraine's ambassador to the U.S. was seen holding her head in her hands. A short time later, Zelenskyy and his staff were kicked out of the White House after the president asked them to leave. So what happens now? And just moments ago, President Zelenskyy responded to Trump in a televised interview. We're standing by to hear from the U.S. former ambassador to NATO, Martha Raddatz, on the fallout here and around the world. But first, our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce, leads us off.
Tonight, with the future of Ukraine hanging in the balance, that explosive confrontation in the Oval Office. Tension boiling over between President Trump and Ukrainian President Zelenskyy when Trump was asked about concerns he's aligning with Russia's President Putin.
Well, if I didn't align myself with both of them, you'd never have a deal. You want me to say really terrible things about Putin and then say, hi, Vladimir, how are we doing on the deal? That doesn't work that way. You see the hatred he's got for Putin. It's very tough for me to make a deal with that kind of hate. He's got tremendous hatred. And I understand that, but I can tell you the other side isn't exactly in love with, him either. So it's not a question of alignment. I'm aligned with the world.
Vice President J.D. Vance then jumping in.
I want to respond to this. So look, for 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy.
Zelenskyy interjecting.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Ukrainian president making the point that when they tried diplomacy in the past, Putin broke the deal.
He broken this ceasefire. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to...
Count one.
Zelensky warning if Russia succeeds in taking Ukraine, the U.S. will also pay a price.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly
this.
what I'm
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards.
Playing cards.
Right now, you don't.
You're
playing cards.
Mr. President.
You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III.
The vice president again jumping in.
Have you said thank you once this entire meeting? No, in this entire meeting, have you said thank you?
Zelensky trying to bring the temperature down, but Trump berating the wartime leader.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you can...
He's not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country is in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No. You've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning. You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful.
Zelensky came to Washington hoping to get Trump to guarantee Ukraine's security if Putin violates the terms of a peace deal, something Trump has refused to give him. Today, instead, delivering this ultimatum.
The problem is, I've empowered you to be a tough guy. And I don't think you'd be a tough guy without the United States. And your people are very brave. But you're either going to make a deal or we're out. And if we're out, you'll fight it out. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards. But once we sign that deal, you're in a much better position. But you're not acting at all thankful. And that's not a nice thing. I'll be honest, that's not a nice thing. All right, I think we've seen enough. What do you think? Huh? This is going to be great television, I will say that.
Trump then kicking Zelensky out of the White House, canceling their press conference, releasing a statement saying, "I have determined that President Zelensky is not ready for peace if America is involved. He disrespected the United States of America. He can come back when he's ready for peace." Tonight, as he was boarding his flight to Mar-a-Lago, the president with this message to Zelensky.
He's got to say, I want to make peace. He doesn't have to stand there and say about Putin this, Putin that, and all negative things. He's got to say, I want to make peace. I don't want to fight a war any longer. His people are dying. He doesn't have the cards, just so you understand it, okay?
And moments ago, Zelensky saying this to Fox News.
I'm speaking like a president of a people who are in this struggle 3 years, and they just want to hear that America on our side and that America will stay with us, not with Russia, with us. That's it.
Mary Bruce joins us now from the White House. Mary, what else do we know about the fallout?
Well, Lindsay, tonight we have learned that the Trump administration is now considering cutting off all ongoing shipments of military aid to Ukraine in response to Zelensky's comments. Now, no final decision has been made, and it's not clear what impact this would have on the battlefield, but it would certainly send a clear and strong message after the fiery spectacle we saw here today. Lindsay.
Potentially a pivotal moment in this war. Mary Bruce from the White House, thanks so much. That Oval Office confrontation marks a stunning reversal in the course of the war in Ukraine. The U.S. and much of the world united behind Ukraine 3 years ago when Russia invaded. And ABC's chief global affairs anchor Martha Raddatz was there. Martha, the outlook is certainly very different now.
So different now, Lindsay. I remember 3 years ago the enormous support the United States, Americans had for Ukraine after Russia invaded. They were flying Ukrainian flags. There were even Americans going over to Kyiv and elsewhere in Ukraine to fight the fight with the Ukrainians. And of course, the refugees. People felt so badly for the refugees, those mothers and children. You met so many of them, Lindsay, as well. But the future of the U.S. relationship with Ukraine is now unclear. Tonight, European allies are standing behind Zelensky, the UK Prime Minister, who met with Trump just yesterday, promising his unwavering support for Zelenskyy. But meanwhile, Vladimir Putin's close allies in Russia are celebrating the descent into chaos after this meeting, with one official delighting in calling it, Linsey, a fierce scolding of Zelenskyy by the President of the United States. Linsey?
So much uncertainty there. All right, Martha Raddatz, our thanks to you as always. Let's bring in the U.S.'s former ambassador to NATO, retired Lieutenant General Doug Lute, into the conversation. Doug, thank you, as always, for your time. You know a lot of officials from the member countries of NATO. I'm curious if you can share what, if anything, you're hearing from people you know overseas about these developments.
Well, I think the immediate impact of today's display in the Oval Office is almost certainly a cutback, if not complete ending of U.S. military support to President Zelenskyy in Ukraine. I think that's inevitable, given this very public display in the Oval. Beyond that, though, to your question, the bigger strategic impact is that this is yet a further divide between our European allies, who broadly support Ukraine and Zelensky's effort, and the United States, in particular, this White House. So that divide between us and our longstanding European allies seems to be widening.
So if that aid is cut off, what do you think the consequences would be ultimately on the war?
Well, look, there are particular systems that are U.S. Specific, and those, of course, would have a big impact for Ukraine. But Ukraine's defense industry, even over the last year, has really blossomed and is increasingly meeting some of Ukraine's needs itself. And then, of course, our European allies have pledged to continue support even if the U.S. stops. So it won't be simple. It won't be clean. Ukrainians will die as a result of this drying up of American support, but Ukraine will survive.
The president also criticized Zelenskyy for negative things that he says about Putin. If you were in Zelenskyy's shoes, if Putin had invaded your country, do you think you'd be talking about him in a similar fashion?
I don't think there's any question. It's beyond the emotions of just being a Ukrainian. The facts are very clear here. It was Vladimir Putin who 3 years ago, unprovoked, launched this full-scale invasion, and since then has tormented civilians in Ukraine, has forcibly deported Ukrainians onto Russian soil, has tortured prisoners of war, and killed thousands of Ukrainians. I don't think it's just Zelenskyy. I think we should all be outraged by what's going on in Ukraine.
Ultimately, if Ukraine needs more assistance after what happened today, do you believe that it will need to seek that help elsewhere besides the U.S.? Do you think that Europe will come in to help?
I think Europe will stand up. And I think that was the fundamental message earlier this week when the French leader and the British leader also spoke with President Trump. And it was a clear message coming out of the Munich Security Conference just 2 weeks ago. So I believe Europe's moment is here. And it's now that Europe needs to stand up.
Ambassador Lute, we thank you as always for your time and insight. Again, we are here at the Oscars, and a name very familiar to the Academy was, of course, Gene Hackman. And tonight, there are new clues in the investigation into the death of the actor, his wife, and one of their dogs. Tests have ruled out carbon monoxide as the cause, but there's an important new clue that could point to at least when Hackman may have died. Trevor Ault is in Santa Fe, New Mexico tonight with the latest.
Tonight, authorities investigating the suspicious deaths of legendary actor Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, say preliminary tests show no sign of carbon monoxide poisoning. Authorities also revealing 95-year-old Hackman had a pacemaker, and an analysis showed its last event was February 17th, more than a week prior, and that may have been the day he died.
According to the pathologist, I think that is a very good assumption that was his last day of life.
After a security worker called 911 Wednesday, Hackman was found in the mudroom near the kitchen, Arakawa in the bathroom, with prescription pills scattered on a counter nearby. One of their dogs also found dead in a crate 10 feet away. Investigators now analyzing data from 2 cell phones found in the couple's home, along with medical records from medical testing service MyQuest, a monthly planner for 2025, and thyroid and heart medications. The mystery surrounding Hackman's death cannot overshadow his impact on film, from action to drama to comedy.
I'm talking about taking it out and chopping it up.
Actor Dustin Hoffman, who went to acting school with Hackman, remembering his longtime friend as powerful, subtle, brilliant, a giant among actors. I miss him already.
And Linsey, because of that pacemaker data, investigators believe Hackman was likely dead for more than a week before he was found. The time of his wife's death is still unclear. Now, authorities still don't suspect foul play, but they say these autopsies are going to be key in solving this mystery, Linsey.
Trevor Alt, our thanks to you. And joining us now on the red carpet is senior entertainment reporter for Anscape and ABC News contributor, Miss Kelly Carter. Great to have you, as always.
To see you.
So our audiences have about 48 hours to catch up to all things Oscars. What do you think they can anticipate on Sunday?
I mean, I feel like Emilia Perez is still going to do pretty well. At least we know Zoe Saldana pretty much is probably going to take that one home. So start streaming that one because it is a very unique film and something unlike we've seen before. But also, you probably want to screen Conclave too. You know, everyone is talking about that film. It's picked up a lot of awards. It's streaming right now.
It's so timely.
It's so timely and it's so crazy. It has one of the craziest endings, I would say, next to Substance.
I did not expect either ending, yes.
No. But all 3 crazy films in their own kind of way, but I think that, you know, that'll kind of get you up to speed on names that we'll probably hear called on Sunday night.
All right, any sleepers, any dark horses that you're thinking people really haven't been talking about who could end up bringing home a statue?
I think there are a couple. I mean, let's also talk about Coleman Domingo, right?
Yes.
You know, back-to-back, back-to-back Oscar nominees, probably going to get a 3rd one next year for an upcoming film, but I think Sing Sing was really great. I love the story of that film and what it took to make that film, and Coleman, quite frankly, can read a phone book, and I'll be like, give him all the awards. Also, Fernanda Torres for I'm Still Here.
Yes.
She picked up a big win at the Golden Globes, surprised a lot of people.
All of Brazil is behind her.
All of Brazil is behind her. I get DMs and messages on my social media every day about Fernanda Torres in support of her, so I think that she's another one. And, I mean, other than that, I feel like we pretty much know who's going to capture the big wins of the night, but I wouldn't be shocked if Coleman maybe split a vote and got in there and won. I mean, he certainly would deserve it. Why not?
So you and I, every year I see you at the Oscars luncheon. This year it was scheduled to take place February 10th. Then, understandably, due to the wildfires, it was canceled. There was actually a moment of uncertainty about if this moment would even happen, if the Oscars would take place this year as a result of all of the fallout. Many of the people involved in the productions on camera and behind the scenes lost their homes, lost everything. Do you feel like that's going to be reflected on the stage Sunday?
I do. One thing that's been consistent this award season is we've seen every award show pay homage to people who have lost so much because of the California wildfires. Donating funds have been record-breaking, quite frankly, and I expect that the Oscars will absolutely acknowledge that, but also encourage people to dig a little bit deeper and give some money to the people behind the scenes. It's not about the front-facing talent. I mean, even though we do know there's some front-facing talent that lost things in this fire, it's really about the people behind the scenes that you never see, but they're the ones who move the needle and get things done in this town who've lost so much. So I think we're going to hear a lot of emphasis on that this season.
Also something new. We're going to see Conan O'Brien on the stage. Now, I happen to love when he does his little dance moves like that. What do you think? What kind of energy do you think that Conan will bring?
I think that he's going to be kind of pitch perfect. I think he's going to really be able to balance, you know, kind of the somberness that you need when you address something like the wildfires. But he's also going to be great at poking fun of the celebrities, you know, because he's a celebrity himself and he probably has a lot of friends in that room. So I think he's going to be measured and give like the right ounces of to move this show along and be really fun, I think.
The right ounces of Kelly Carter couldn't have said it better myself. Got to get that in there. So appreciate you as always. And I'm going to see what your bets are, because if I'm doing any of the guests, I need you to tell me who's going to win.
I can tell you who's going to win.
And we're going to have Mike Muse to help us out with that as well. Thank you so much, Kelly. Nora has landed 6 Oscar nominations, among them Best Picture, Best Supporting Actor, and Best Actress for Mikey Madison. She stars as a young escort from Brooklyn who meets and impulsively marries the son of a Russian oligarch, but it's not long before her fairy tale is threatened. I got a chance to sit down with Mikey Madison to discuss how she transformed into the character of Annie.
Sean Baker is the director. He reaches out to you after seeing you in Scream and says, hey, I want you to do this role, Annie. What was your initial reaction to the role?
I didn't know much about the character. He pitched me a loose idea for the story, and at the time it was a little bit more of like a Russian gangster film, but it was still about a young woman who lives in Brighton Beach who ends up marrying, she realizes she ends up marrying the wrong man. And so that storyline was still pretty much the same, but I think we just agreed that we wanted to work with each other.
How involved were you with him in bringing Annie to life?
Oh, it was very collaborative, which also is something I've never quite done before. He really welcomed me into the process of making the movie in such a big way. He really made it clear from the beginning that he cared about what I had to say and my opinions, and so, I mean, he never even heard the accent.
I got a kid who wants someone who speaks Russian.
You know, Jimmy, the girls and I have been talking, and if your cousin doesn't start showing us some respect.
How I spoke Russian until we were filming. And so I kind of went off and spent, 5 months really just trying to like cultivate the character, work on the physicality, and just bring this character to life.
It feels like there was actually a lot involved here because, first of all, you nailed the Brighton Beach accent.
I shared my playlist with him, and he was very rude and dismissive.
You learn Russian, you immerse yourself into this world of erotic dancing. What was the most difficult aspect of all of this, let alone that you were learning it all at the same time?
I think they were difficult for different reasons. Like, learning how to dance as realistically as I possibly could. It was very physically demanding. But this was like a whole other level of really trying to evolve my body and get in touch with certain parts of myself and like cultivate like real dancing skills that I did not have before. And so that was difficult just physically. And then, learning Russian like that, it's quite mental. And then the emotional side of getting to understand the character.
When you were actually doing the movie, I mean, you have 6 Oscar nominations now for this movie. Did you think it had the potential?
Honestly, I don't think that's something I think about when I'm making a movie. I'm just really like tunnel vision, thinking about the character and her mindset and just how I need to do my job as best as possible. I mean, even just getting accepted to go to Cannes Film Festival in the main competition was a career-long dream of mine. And then we won the festival, which was so mind-blowing.
So when I sat down to watch Nora, I didn't know anything about it, which I love being able to go into a movie.
I think that's the best way to watch a movie,
having
right?
a blank slate. And then I started wondering, what is this movie? And I saw you subsequently have talked about how sometimes it felt like you were doing a romantic movie. At other points, it's like a horror movie and then a slapstick comedy.
Right.
And so how were you able to navigate so seamlessly? Because it's difficult to actually just pinpoint down what a Nora is.
Yeah, I mean, I love Sean Baker's storytelling, and I like how he navigates those different genres. And then within my character, I think it was just about being very clear in terms of her emotional arc, where she's at in each moment.
I love my husband.
You do not know this guy.
We are consenting adults.
And then I think just trying to be self-aware as the actor who is playing the character who is maybe not as self-aware in some moments of where you can push certain things, like, some of the more slapstick physicality, like where I can really try to push that as much as possible. But I think it was just about being intuitive in those moments, and I think I just was really keyed in to Sean and our collective vision. I think we both just understood the kind of story that we wanted to tell.
Beyond the Hollywood sparkle, this year's Oscars, the nominated films and the stars are having a cultural impact. For a look at that, ABC News contributor and Sirius XM radio host Mr. Mike Muse is here. Great to have you.
Good to be here.
Looking dapper. I was wondering, is he going to do the vest? Of course, this kind of your signature style. Can't wait to see what you're going to do for the people on Sunday. Give them what they want.
Listen, I just been standing next to you, so I knew I had to.
So we're talking about cultural moments. Obviously, people are talking about Emilia Perez, Carla Sofia Gaston. A lot of controversy surrounding her, but the movie has 13 nominations.
Yeah.
It's expected that she's going to be here and grace the red carpet. How do you think the Oscars are going to handle that?
I think the Oscars have always handled big moments well that could be controversial. They have a way of making sure that they find a way to celebrate the good of the season, the good of the films, and to highlight those who have dreamed big for the season and has made it to the red carpet and to this big stage. But they know they also, too, have to address it. Reporters will be on the carpet, so we'll be able to ask the questions. But you know what? That's film, right? Film is to hold a mirror up to society, the good and the bad, right? To show the range of human emotion, human flaws, human error, and then course correction, whatever that may be. And it's up to humans to decide if they want to forgive or not.
And it's also a really interesting aspect of, is there a separation between church and state? Are we celebrating the person or the work that they've done as an actor? But it also is a big moment for Latinos. We have 4 nominations for big roles, including Fernanda Torres in I'm Still Here.
I'm so excited for Fernanda Torres because of her mother. She's a legacy, right? And so to see Brazilians be able to have their moment here, I think is fantastic. I think having Colman Domingo, who's also an Afro-Latino, have his moment. He is one of the most defining actors of this generation. I'm so excited for Zoe Saldana. She's also, too, having her moment and being able to lean into this space. It's a good time for representation. I know, Lindsay, sometimes these award shows and Oscars kind of get a lot of pushback for the glitz, the glam, could be superficial, but for me, it's a tapestry of society, right? It's a tapestry for who we are as community, and then to ask us questions and say, do we want to be better? And how do we see ourselves on television? How do we see ourselves? I can only imagine an Afro-Latino when they see Colman Domingo to say, like, what is possible, right? Those who identify as trans, we're in a very turbulent time right now in the trans community, so to have trans representation, not only in Emilia Perez, but also in Conclave, right? I think that's an important part of this. We're seeing the brutalist. We're seeing dynamics of sexual assault that can take place to men. Right, and so we're seeing that for men who have suffered in silence, they now can see their stories play out, unfortunately, on the screen, but it may open up a dialogue for other people, especially men, to feel comfortable in coming out. That's what really the night is about, is to amplify these stories and to amplify these messages.
The tapestry of humanity. Could not have said it better. Look at you, Mike. Just waxing so poetic on Prime tonight. Thank you so much. We're going to have you come back to give us some predictions in a little bit.
Okay, perfect.
All right?
I'll bring my best.
All right. Don't go anywhere. Coming up, the dramatic rescue after a scaffolding collapse left 2 window washers twisting in the wind 850 feet above Manhattan. But first, the Vatican is reporting that Pope Francis has suffered a setback. We'll have an update from Vatican City. Stay with us.
I'd never seen that many skeletal remains. Thousands. It's a serial killer case.
This killer, he's the dumber you've never heard of.
More and more men are going missing, and then the lead broke the case open. They discovered the farm.
The whole place was so bizarre.
There were mannequins, almost like it was a club.
I felt the presence of evil.
The largest number of unidentified human remains, second only to the World Trade Center.
Not many people live to tell about their involvement with the serial killer.
Everything we know about this case comes from you.
Absolutely.
Let's not do that.
Ooh, I'm sorry.
Never before a face-to-face interview with a camera.
Why now?
Let me ask you, am I the evil culprit, the accomplice?
I'd like to know how the audience views me.
The Fox Hollow Murders, Playground of a Serial Killer. Only on Hulu.
I'm 110% ready to fall in love.
Tall, handsome, smart. He's perfect.
Time just stood still.
It's kind of already sinking in that These other girls are dating my boyfriend.
Everybody just really wants Grant, and we're all fighting for his love.
You act like you don't care. He knows how I feel.
I know I'm in trouble.
Everyone's so mean.
I did not know how hard this was gonna be.
Attention teachers, no child is to be sent to the principal's office today. Kids, if you want to do prom, now's the time. Happy first day of school.
Yes! Weren't there like 4 more of these?
Yeah, we were robbed.
Hey, buy 3, get 1 free.
I'ma call your mother on you. Bring the rest back here, boy.
The news never stops.
From Tampa, we are here tonight as Hurricane Milton has just made landfall.
The surge just keeps coming up.
Right on the border between Ukraine and Russia.
In downtown Tel Aviv, rockets or missiles coming in.
ABC News Live everywhere.
We're not far from where this rally took place, so just stick with us here.
Here in London, from the front lines,
Off the coast of Gaza, wherever the story is.
we're going to take you there.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live, streaming free everywhere. A 12-year-old girl fighting for her life, stabbed 19 times. Her 2 so-called friends accused of the heinous crime.
How did a sleepover end in a brutal attack?
Now, 11 years later, with the 2 girls who brutally stabbed her, one released and free, and one about to be released.
Inside the case that gripped the nation and still captivates true crime junkies worldwide.
It is everywhere, and our jaws were on the floor.
Surviving Slender Man, now streaming on Hulu.
Much buzz and energy here on the red carpet. We are live for the 97th Academy Awards. We'll have more on what we're looking forward to and predictions for the winners coming up. But right now, let's go back to Phil Lipoff in New York with more of the day's big headlines. Hey, Phil.
Hey, Lindsay, here are those headlines. More than 20 new cases of measles have been reported in West Texas just since Tuesday, and health officials there expect that number to rise. Nationwide so far this year, there have already been 164 cases across 9 states. That's after the virus was eliminated in the U.S. back in the year 2000. Maria Villarreal is in Texas tonight.
With cases from New Jersey to California, tonight the race to stop the spread of measles. An outbreak in West Texas growing from 90 cases to 146 in the last week, and health officials expect those numbers to climb.
This is not just another virus. We're seeing high hospitalization rates. We're seeing school-aged children come in with severe respiratory problems.
All those patients unvaccinated, and 1 child has died, the country's first death in 10 years.
It directly affects our lives, especially being around here.
In Lubbock, Texas, parents like Shanae Brown are on edge. Her daughter's only 1 month old, and she can't get the vaccine until she turns 1.
I really want her to have it, especially with the first case of someone dying recently.
The CDC reports 164 cases of the measles across 9 states in the first 2 months of the year, more than half the number reported for all of last year. Vaccinations among kindergartners have been dropping for 4 years. Doctors now urging parents to get their children vaccinated.
What are you telling possible patients and parents?
The lack of vaccination is our problem at this point. The vaccine is extremely effective, 95% chance, even after the first single dose.
Maria Villarreal in Texas for us. The Vatican is reporting tonight Pope Francis has suffered a concerning setback in his 2-week battle with double pneumonia. Terry Moran is at the Vatican. And Terry, the Pope's condition now reported to be guarded. What else are you learning tonight?
Phil, this is a setback for Pope Francis. The Vatican telling us that early this afternoon, the Pope had a coughing fit, and during that fit, he vomited and inhaled some of it. All that triggering a sudden worsening of his respiratory condition. So doctors quickly moved to clear some of that material from his lungs, and they put the Pope on non-invasive mechanical ventilation. That's a mask on the face. The Pope was not intubated, and doctors say that Francis responded well to that treatment and that he was alert and cooperative through it all. Francis is breathing better now, but his doctors say that the next 24 to 48 hours are going to be crucial. The Pope, we are told, remains in danger. Phil?
Terry Moran from Vatican City. Terry, thank you.
One of America's most wanted men, Mexican drug cartel boss Rafael Caro Quintero, was brought into a Brooklyn federal courtroom today. He landed on U.S. soil overnight and was charged with the infamous 1985 torture and killing of DEA agent Enrique Camarena in Mexico. Agents today used handcuffs engraved with Camarena's name to shackle Caro Quintero, who pleaded not guilty. He was among 29 top drug operatives transferred to the U.S. in just the past 36 hours under pressure from the Trump administration. 78 stories up and hanging by a thread. The daring rescue in New York City. A piece of roller coaster history goes up with a blast. And while the best may need to wait until Sunday, the rest got their awards today. The 2025 Razzies are in. Those stories and more in tonight's rundown.
Terrifying new video gives us a clear look at what two New York City high-rise workers faced when their platform suddenly began spinning out of control 78 stories above the famed Columbus Circle. Those two workers were rescued by first responders and are expected to be okay. Apparently, the workers were not secured by safety lines. Fire officials say they were wearing their safety harnesses, but they were useless because they weren't hooked up to the rigging in the suspended scaffold.
Fortunately, both sides of the scaffolding remained level because they weren't secured to anything.
An investigation is now underway.
Oh my God!
Last stop for what was once the tallest, fastest roller coaster in the world. 456-foot Kingda Ka imploded at Six Flags in Jackson Township, New Jersey today. Kingda Ka debuted in 2005 and could hit speeds up to 128 miles per hour. With the ride closing in 2024, a series of planned explosions reduced it to pieces of broken track, making room for a new coaster. The family of the Menendez brothers is sharing their relief that California Governor Gavin Newsom is fast-tracking a parole board assessment to determine whether Eric and Lyle would pose a risk to the public if released. Cousin Anna Maria Baralt talked with ABC's Matt Gutman.
Was there an audible gasp? Did you high five? Like, what did it feel like?
I audibly gasped on my side. I can't speak for anybody else, but it's very exciting.
The assessment could take up to 90 days, but ABC News has learned that Newsom is fast-tracking the process. And if Newsom supports the brothers' release after the investigation concludes, their case will be reviewed by the parole board, which would then have up to 6 months to make a ruling. Travis Kelce is returning to the Chiefs for his 13th season. Now 35 years old, Kelce had been considering retirement, upset with his performance after losing to the Eagles in the Super Bowl. He has decided to return for at least one more year, telling Pat McAfee, quote, "I can't go out like this." Sunday, the best in cinema is honored, but today it's the best of the worst receiving distinction. Today, the Golden Raspberry Awards announced its list of Razzie winners. Madam Web led with 3 wins, including Worst Picture, followed by 2 wins for Joker, Filet-O-Dieu, Megalopolis, and Unfrosted. Megalopolis director Francis Ford Coppola wrote on Instagram he was, quote, thrilled to win for Worst Director, pointing to his willingness to take risks. The Parody Awards first started in 1981. Sylvester Stallone has the most wins with 12.
In that case, I'm not sure it's an honor to be nominated. The Razzies look at what they think is the worst, but Linsey Davis is out on the Oscar red carpet, where the Academy is preparing to honor the best, or what we here at ABC News Live like to call Linsey Davis.
Yeah, Phil, definitely don't want to be one of those Razzie recipients. Coming up, the stage is set for Hollywood's biggest night, but hundreds of feet of red carpet, dozens of golden statues. They do not come cheap. We'll break down the cost of the Oscars by the numbers. Stay with us.
I'd never seen that many skeletal remains. Thousands.
This killer, he's the Dahmer you've never heard of.
There were mannequins, almost like it was a club.
I felt the presence of evil.
Never before a face-to-face interview with a camera.
Why now?
Let me ask you, am I the evil culprit, the accomplice?
I'd like to know how the audience views me.
The Fox Hollow Murders, Playground of a Serial Killer, only on Hulu.
People do not know how to date. That's why they come to us.
As a matchmaker, we're here to help you get your wings on.
Let's get some people married. Why are you single?
Maybe the kind of guys that I go for.
You go for hot guys.
Yeah.
It's a pitfall.
What would you say are like the top things you're looking for?
You don't like hairy men, so all Muslims are out. What are you talking about?
This process doesn't have to suck. He's cute.
Make it happen, boo.
It started with a spark.
Getting that golden ticket today.
Good luck on out the golden ticket.
That grew into life.
Will change my life.
I know you're nervous.
Show me a place where dreams come true.
I've never seen anything like it. You're going to Hollywood.
My dream came true.
There are surprises in every person.
Where dreams come true.
The news never stops. We are here in Israel, a nation at war.
Hurricane Helene screaming across the state, and that's why ABC News Live never stops.
Taking you to the center of the story. As news breaks live.
ABC News Live is there for you all morning live. Right there. As events unfold across the day, breaking down the day's top stories. ABC News Live Prime going there wherever the story is.
And ABC News Live lighting up the weekend.
ABC News Live.
Because the news never stops.
Attention teachers, no child is to be sent to the principal's office today. Kids, if you want to do crime, now's the time. Happy first day at school. Yes. Weren't there like 4 more of these?
Yeah, we were robbed.
Hey, buy 3, get 1 free.
I'ma call your mother on you. Bring the rest back here, boy.
I'm 110% ready to fall in love.
Tall, handsome, smart. He's perfect.
Time just stood still. It's kind of already sinking in that these other girls are dating my boyfriend.
Everybody just really wants Grant, and we're all fighting for his love.
You act like you don't care.
He knows how I feel.
I know I'm in trouble.
Everyone's so mean.
I did not know how hard this was gonna be.
Boys.
Auntie?
This is how your father's business works. The life of crime and the life of this deli.
We're innocent.
We'd be the first innocent brown people in jail. Oh my God.
There's a gun in the credenza. Finish him off now.
What?
What part of this are you not understanding?
Credenza, if I'm being honest, I don't think I know what that is.
I'm Mireya Villarreal in Houston, Texas. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming with ABC News Live. Welcome back, everyone. The 97th Academy Awards are on Sunday, and all those gold statues, they do not come cheap. Let's take a look at what it takes to put on Hollywood's biggest night by the numbers. $57.7 million. That's the total cost of the Oscars ceremony. This data all according to new reporting from Wallet Hub. Just the red carpet alone takes 600 hours, 500 crew members, and $24,700. And each of those Oscar statuettes is worth an estimated $400. They are, of course, plated in 24-karat gold. Oscar looks will cost an A-list actress a staggering $1.5 million per ensemble. The city of Los Angeles receives an estimated $175 million economic boost from the Academy Awards. And a Best Actor win will raise that actor's pay some 40% on his or her next film. $170,000 is the estimated value of the Oscars goodie bag, which is gifted to top acting and directing nominees. And if you want to attend the Vanity Fair Oscar party, you'll have to shovel out $83,000. That's the price tag per couple. More than 200 countries and territories around the world will televise the event, which, of course, you can watch this Sunday on ABC and Hulu Live from the Dolby Theater beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern. And still coming up Sunday is Hollywood's biggest night. So who will win big at the 97th Academy Awards? And which looks will steal the show on this red carpet? We have Oscars fashion and predictions coming up next. Stay with us.
A 12-year-old girl fighting for her life, stabbed 19 times. Her two so-called friends accused of the heinous crime.
How did a sleepover end in a brutal attack?
Now, 11 years later, with the two girls who brutally stabbed her, one released and free, and one about to be released.
Inside the case that gripped the nation and still captivates true crime junkies worldwide.
It is everywhere, and our jaws were on the floor.
Surviving Slender Man, now streaming on Hulu.
From Pixar comes an all-new original series.
Everyone is chasing the feeling of a win.
Hey, Lori, you're famous.
But if someone wins,
You're not funny.
somebody has to lose.
What did I just do?
One story.
No matter what happens, you are all winners.
Told from 8 sides.
We'll make it work.
We always do.
Better not blow it.
Disney Pixar's Win or Lose. Available February 19th only on Disney+.
What's good to watch, read? Where can I get a great deal on what I'm just dying to buy? Oh, it's all right here. GMA Life. All the exclusive and buzziest celebrity good stuff. Deals and steals with amazing savings and the coolest lifestyle tips from Good Morning America.
Get excited.
I love that so much. It's time for GMA Life.
GMA Life, streaming weekends on ABC News Live. Your weekend just got a little better with GMA Life.
Boys.
Auntie? Oh.
This is how your father's business works. The life of crime and the life of this deli.
We're innocent.
We'd be the first innocent brown people in jail. Oh my God.
There's a gun in the credenza. Finish him off now.
What?
What part of this are you not understanding?
Credenza, if I'm being honest, I don't think I know what that is.
Attention teachers, no child is to be sent to the principal's office today. Kids, if you want to do crime, now's the time. Happy first day of school.
Yes. Weren't there like 4 more of these?
Yeah, we were robbed.
Hey, buy 3, get 1 free.
I'ma call your mother on you. Bring the rest back here, boy.
I'd never seen that many skeletal remains. Thousands.
This killer, he's the dumber you've never heard of.
There were mannequins, almost like it was a club.
I felt the presence of evil.
Never before a face-to-face interview with the camera.
Why now?
Let me ask you, am I the evil culprit, the accomplice?
I'd like to know how the audience views me. The Fox Hollow Murders, Playground of a Serial Killer, only on Hulu.
She gets more elegant every day. This was the best look of the night. Don't love the sleeve. This is a peplum I'm okay with. Kind of boring. I like what she does. Not agreeing with the bottom. He needs to wear something new. He knows we got in a fight about it.
The countdown to Oscars night is on, and who better to talk all things Oscar fashion with us than Nikki Campbell, red carpet fashion critic, joining us now. I wish for you at home that you could actually see the shoes that he's wearing. But, you know, you can only use the imagination in this moment. So tell us, who are you looking most forward to seeing on the red carpet?
Oh my gosh, there's so many people. I think it's going to be a good season for us, but I have to say, Zoe Saldana comes to mind. She's been killing it lately with all of her custom Saint Laurent looks. It's an amazing partnership. Timothée Chalamet, nominated for A Complete Unknown, and he's been really leaning into the Bob Dylan inspiration, creating a lot of viral fashion moments. But I think the top of my list has to be Demi Moore. Nominated for The Substance, fingers crossed that whatever she's wearing is going to make it to the awards stage.
Who in general this season, this award season, do you think has just been killing it on the red carpet?
Oh, I mean, I have to give it up to my girl Demi. Again, like, she has been killing it. She works with an incredible stylist, Brad Goreski. They've been doing custom Schiaparelli, custom Tom Brown. The looks are amazing, and she's having such an incredible style reinvention that it's just been amazing to watch.
In general, when you think about Oscars past, who do you think just actually blew you away?
I have to say the Oscars looks that lives in my mind rent-free has to be Gwyneth Paltrow. 1999, she wore this incredible pale pink Ralph Lauren, I believe, number. It was just so timeless and beautiful. My mind also goes to Lupita Nyong'o, 2012, custom Prada. She won the award that year. pale blue. It was just a magical moment. And of course, if you want to go in a little funkier direction, I really love Bjork and the iconic swan dress.
You are, of course, not shy about giving your critiques.
Never.
What do you think is out for this season, fashion-wise? What do you think is in?
What's out is I hate a peep toe. You guys, please, no peep toes on the red carpets.
Okay.
Hate a peep toe. Don't love a peplum. I have some problems with peplums, that has been known. And too many...
For people who are not fashionistas, explain peplum.
Peplum is when you sort of have this extra layer of fabric coming out from your waist.
Okay.
Not always the most attractive silhouette.
Fortunately, I don't have that. I'm listening to all the things like, am I wearing that on Sunday? Okay, so far so good. Okay,
great. And I have to say the overuse of opera gloves. Not loving it, not always the most flattering. I get it, ladies. We want to feel a little bit more fabulous, but sometimes we don't need them.
I'm safe there because I don't have gloves either. Okay, so what do you think is in?
What is in is looking fabulous and opulence. I think it's just about celebrating fashion and really leaning into something that's a little bit more theatrical. I'm hoping that we don't see things that are too neutral, too plain, you know, that are playing it too safe. I think what's fun is thinking more in the line of Cynthia Erivo, Ariana Grande, method dressing, playing up the characters that they were playing so wonderfully in Wicked, and really leaning into like the fun of fashion because it's supposed to be fun.
So you feel that there should be some representation of the actual role itself in their fashion on the carpet?
I am personally a big fan of that. I love to see it, and I think it keeps the audiences really engaged.
All right, Nikki Campbell, we will see. And I don't know, DeAndre, I have to ask the stylist I'm working with, do I have a peep toe? I don't even know what shoes I'm wearing yet. All right, so we'll see. Nikki Campbell, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And Robin Roberts had a chance to sit down with some of this year's nominees, including Cynthia Erivo. She's up for Best Actress for her role in Wicked, her third Oscar nomination.
The universal theme, I think, has really resonated with folks about acceptance, about longing to feel belonging.
Yeah.
And do you think that is something that really has captivated folks?
I think so. I think so because I think everyone wants to belong. Everyone wants to feel seen. And even those who might not profess that want it. And I think being able to see it play out in front of you, I think has pulled the heartstrings of people and connected with a lot of people who might not have the words.
Countdown to the Oscars with Robin Roberts will be streaming on Hulu and Disney Plus tomorrow. Now, who will take home the top prizes and who will surprise? Joining us once again, ABC News contributor and Sirius XM radio host, Mr. Mike News, back with us. Give us an idea. Who do you think for the top honors? Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress. Let's bet some money on it.
Yeah.
Who do you think?
Lindsay, for the first time you and I have this conversation, I don't know. This is
I know.
Mike
Muse, I've never heard you say that.
I don't know. And I love that we don't know. For Best Picture, this is the first time.
It's a complete unknown.
It's literally, but bump America. Although I am pulling for that, though. I do want it to win, but that's third on my list. I think the top two is going to be Anora and Conclave, followed by A Complete Unknown can get in there. At the beginning of the award season, we all thought Amir Perez was going to be it. They thought they had the momentum going in, but as the award season went on, they slowly began to lose momentum. Anora picked up momentum, and Conclave picked up momentum. In particular, Lindsay, as we know in the backdrop, the Pope is having some health issues, and so I'm wondering how is that going to play on the heartstrings of the Academy voters, and does that propel them for that one to be a nod? Also, too, what we don't know is Best Actor. For the whole season, we thought Adrian Brody was a lock for Best Actor, but Timothée Chalamet came in last week and took home for the SAG Awards, surprised himself, surprised us, which is going to make Sunday much more interesting, and Mikey Madison. She has two surprises of the BAFTAs by winning the award against Demi Moore. We thought Demi Moore was a shoo-in for the rest of the season. I still think it leans Demi for this one, but we just never know with that one. But we know what is a lock, and that is Zoe Saldana. And also,
really? No question.
No slot.
We bet our money on that.
Put your penny on that one. And then I guess the penny's in rotation anymore, but still put your penny on that one.
Oh, that's
still.
great.
So
your nickel.
Your nickel. And then the second one is Kieran Culkin. He's a lock. But those are the only ones that we know that is a lock.
Any surprises, dark horses you're anticipating?
It's kind of what we talked about, one, A Complete Unknown. What I love about biofilms, let me say what I first don't like about biofilms.
Okay.
I don't like when biofilms go from cradle to grave. I like when there's a very poignant moment in a person's life that they tell the story of, and I thought they did that really well with the Bob Dylan story.
They also did that with The Apprentice. That's something that many people haven't been talking about.
They haven't, because in a specific time period, it allows you to be very disciplined with the story and the script, by still bringing the person's character. And I think going from folk to electric showed the tension about Dylan. That was a really good one. And so I'm curious that could be the surprise for that one.
Many of us are used to kind of the old Hollywood names that regularly get the nominations, but it feels like it's a younger group that's getting many of the nods this year.
It is. Speaking of our boy Timothée Chalamet, he could be poised to be one of the youngest. Mikey Madison. Yep, to be the one to win it too as well. But what's really interesting about that, Linsey, I think the producers recognize that, which is why you have a really interesting combo of singers. You have Ray, you have Doja Cat, and you have Lisa from Blackpink. Why is that important? Most Americans may not know they have one of the biggest singles out right now together. And Lisa is this huge K-pop star from Blackpink. It's my jam actually too as well, and the video was
You have
sick.
to introduce me.
Oh, I got you, homie. I got you. And so I think the producers recognize that. So they're going to bring a new audience because Lisa, Doja Cat, and Ray's following is massive. They're going to come in to see that. The younger audience is going to come in to see Wicked, obviously with Cynthia Erivo. Hopefully she does Defy Gravity. I know a lot of Wicked fans are hoping Ariana Grande does Popular. So this is going to be a very youthful dynamic with the ode to legacy with Quincy Jones. I cannot wait to see Queen Latifah lead that in memoriam for Quincy Jones. I spoke with the musical director, and he said that that is going to be one of the highlights of the evening. They want it to be festive. They want it to be a party, because that's what Quincy Jones is, right? His music was such a soundtrack, not only to our lives, but to Hollywood. Juke Joint.
That's right.
Queen Latifah had 2 tracks on that. Yeah.
All right, Mike, keeping us young, hip and in the
know. You see the deuces I did with that one?
Mike Muse, thank you. We'll see how it all turns out. I'm going to put my nickel.
Your nickel.
On
Kieran
that's
Zoe.
right. All right.
No pennies.
And a programming note before we go. Be sure to catch our pre-Oscar special on the red carpet at the Oscars this Sunday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on ABC News Live. And following that at 7 p.m. Eastern, tune into the 97th Academy Awards on the ABC Television Network, also streaming on Hulu. And that is our show for this hour. I'm Linsey Davis. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks so much for streaming with us.
Attention teachers, no child is to be sent to the principal's office today. Kids, if you want to do crime, now's the time. Happy first day of school.
Yes! Weren't there like 4 more of these?
Yeah, we were robbed.
Hey, buy 3, get 1 free. I'ma call your mother on you. Bring the rest back here, boy.
From Pixar comes an all-new original series.
Everyone is chasing the feeling of a win.